Greetings, everyone. You are welcome to a new webinar of the Transforming Parliament series. It was organized by the Parliamentary Data Science Hub with a partnership with the IT Governance Hub. Strategic actions towards AI governance is exactly the title of a chapter of the IPU Guidelines for AI in Parliaments. Today, we will know how a few parliaments have made their strategic decisions towards AI governance. I invite Peter Reichstädter to moderate this event. Peter is from the Parliament of Austria. He joined the Austrian Parliament in 2015, coming from the Federal Chancellery. He was guiding with the window of opportunity of renovation and modernization, the new ICT service levels, achieved with his team and external experts. Peter's background is computer science and business administration. He is lecturer at various universities, as well as a speaker at different conferences related to digital transformation, digitalization, AI, and IT strategy. Peter, please, the floor is totally yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Patricia, and also welcome to everybody joining us again in this IPU webinar series. And I think it is very important nowadays, and sending you my best regards from sunny Vienna today, because AI is a topic which is all around us. The main purpose of this webinar is to focus on practical points instead of explaining theory. That means we will really tell you what was the experience of the presenters in her or his parliaments, most relevant decision, but also action taken toward AI governance. The strategic question is a very important question. I will give you afterwards, between while we are hopping between the presenters, also some more details about the speakers. But at the end, just summarizing again shortly, the aim of this webinar, the journey towards effective AI governance, begin with an understanding of its importance. I mean, we really have to realize what is it really in the mid or long-term future as an influence factor for our parliaments. And AI governance is about more than simply managing new technology. It is about a framework that maximizes the benefits of AI while minimizing its risk. So it's about techniques, but it's for sure about people and the culture in the organization too. So let me start with the presentations, and I'm asking Claudia and Andrea from the Senate in Italy, from the Chamber of Deputies of Italy, to give the presentation and also explain how the Italian way looked like. Claudia graduated in political science at the University of Rome and La Sapienza. She obtained a PhD in state theory and comparative political institutions at the same university. She attended the Silvano Tossi Seminar Parliamentary Studies and Research at the University of Florence since 1999. When she passed a public competitive examination, she was worked at the Chamber of Deputies as a parliamentary official with general professional experience. In 2015, she was appointed head of department and headed the Information Technology Department until September 24. In 2022, she was appointed Deputy Secretary General with delegated responsibilities for coordinating the activities pertaining to the organization and management of human resources and organizational innovation. He's also responsible for coordinating the activities and projects relating to technology and innovation, digital transition, and accessibility and security of IT services. She has authored several publications on parliamentary law and the organization of the government. Since 2000, she has been the author of Constitutional Chronicles for a Legal Journey. Please, Claudia, give us an insight how Italy is doing the approach to AI.
Thanks, Peter, and good afternoon, colleagues. Thanks to Patricia and everyone who helped organize and join the call. It's a great pleasure to share the experience of the Italian Chamber of Deputies in AI governance. I would like to introduce my presentation divided in 5 parts. Don't worry, I'm not presenting part 1 on the consolidated solution of AI in the Chamber or part 2 on generative AI at the Chamber. I will move directly to part 3, which is dedicated to our internal rules. So, yeah, here we are. Before we start, I'd like to recall the broader context in which our work began. The Chamber of Deputies adopted a framework on artificial intelligence at a very early stage back in April 2024. At that time, the European AI Act had not been adopted yet, and the IPU was still actively working on its guidelines. Many staff members were already interested in the potential of generative AI. At the same time, the Supervisory Committee on Documentation, composed of deputies responsible for defining the criteria for documentation, launched a public call to collect proposals on how AI could be used to support parliamentary work. In short, it was the perfect moment to act. The conditions were perfectly aligned. Our framework is built around 4 key pillars and sets out some procedural requirements, including criteria for identifying which initiatives would be developed first. The 4 pillars that are closely aligned with those defined by the IPU are protect rights and ensure fairness, assess and secure with a mandatory risk assessment and a strong focus on cybersecurity, protect confidentiality, ensure human responsibility and training. Regarding the obligations, they mainly concern data management, the catalog of use cases, and the principle of technical design. The decision-making process concerning the implementation of the AI projects follows an approach that combines different aspects. The procedure is clear: identify and assess, set priorities, approve and pilot, review and improve. The Italian Chamber of Deputies has placed training and awareness at the heart of its AI strategy. Let's take a closer look at the human dimension of our internal rules. Staff members using GenAI tools must receive proper training. New skills should be mapped and supported. Among the initiatives adopted, I would like to recall the collaborative e-learning platform available on our internal portal, workshop organized together with the National School of Administration. This is our portal. This session, the session with the National School of Administration, are aimed at both the internal staff and the personal assistance of deputies and parliamentary groups. It's clear that experimenting helps people feel confident, reducing fear while keeping expectations realistic. The aim is to foster our AI literacy, the capacity to use these technologies thoughtfully, critically and securely. Understanding technologies helps us to use it wisely with confidence but without unrealistic expectation. So, the release of AI solutions is allowed only after a meticulous testing phase. Project can be made public only if all internal rules and legal requirements have been fully met. About the relation with AI tools, our code establishes that AI supports human but does not replace it. Every AI-generated output undergoes strict quality control. let me say a few words about the testing phase of our three main projects developed after the public call. We involved both stakeholders, scholars, and researchers in this complex and evolving process. These projects were presented last July during a public conference attended by one of the world's leading philosophers of technology, Mr. Luciano Floridi from Harvard. In conclusion, our experience shows that AI governance is not only about technology, it's about people, values, and continuous learning. We aim to build a responsible, transparent, and human-centered approach that strengthens democracy through innovation. That's all.
Thank you, Claudia, for setting up the floor for interesting more presentations to come, and also for some discussions we want to have afterwards. And I only can repeat again what you mentioned. It's about the people, and it's about the training, and it's about unexpected results. How can we bring them down to earth? It needs our attention totally. Now calling Luke. Luke is coming from the UK Parliament of the United Kingdom. Luke Hussey is Director of Digital Value at the UK Parliament. His responsibilities include helping the House of Commons and House of Lords to get the most valuable from its use of digital data and information. This includes shaping a strategic approach taken to the use of AI, with his team supporting development of AI tools, guidance for members, and policy for staff. Luke also serves as secretary to the Speakers Steering Group on AI and the Lord Speakers Group on AI, which has members from the Houses considering the UK Parliament's use of AI. Luke, please introduce us to your approach.
Thank you very much, Peter. A hard act to follow from Claudia. So yeah, thank you very much for having me. And I'm going to cover three aspects briefly. So governance, what we're doing to use AI, and then what we're planning on doing next. And I should just say we're learning so much from colleagues across different parliaments that this opportunity is a really welcome one. So our governance is changing and emerging. We're trying to work out how to do it. Like most parliaments, we have a tendency to establishing committees and groups and spending time in meetings. We're trying to work out whether that's the right one. All our information, data, and digital decisions are governed by one board called the Information and Digital Board in Parliament. That's chaired by the Chief Executive of the House of Lords, the Clerk of the Parliaments, and it's a bicameral board overseeing both Houses of Parliament. That board is very interested in AI and has established the AI Strategy Group, which is chaired by our Chief Technology Officer. And underneath that, we have a group called the AI Assessment Group, which is a more technical working group thinking about, is that a good use of AI or not? And across the organization, across both houses, there are local working groups thinking about their use of AI. So the committee teams, libraries, communications teams, HR, finance, they've all got local working groups. And the AI Strategy Group, in the middle of all of this, is there to shape our strategic approach. And it has representatives from every department in both houses at a very senior level. So it can make choices, and it can actively think about it to make sure we understand the needs and balance what's possible with technology. In the last few months, we've also established a kind of dialogue with members. So we have the Speakers Group on AI in Parliaments, which is chaired by the Chair of Ways and Means, Nusrat Ghani, who is the kind of Deputy Speaker, the most senior Deputy Speaker. And that's got a small panel of members from different parties on it, meeting with myself and the Chief Technology Officer, thinking about how the House of Commons and MPs in particular can be supported to use AI in their work, as well as to scrutinise the use of AI by government and other kind of public bodies that they're responsible for scrutinising. We also have a similar body, the Lord Speakers Group on AI, with the same remit for the House of Lords, chaired by Lord Clement Jones, who is an AI spokesman for one of the parties in the House of Lords, And he and I go quite far back because I clerked the first ever select committee on artificial intelligence in the UK back in 2016, and he was my chairman. So we've been thinking about this for a while. So that's our kind of governance. It's a little bit messy. I think it could be simplified. And there's something else we've done is produce guidance for members and their staff, which we first published in December 2024, and we are updating regularly. It can be found through that QR code if useful, but it includes guidance on what AI is good for, choosing the right tool for the job, the risks you should consider, data protection considerations, the cyber impact, for us, the impact of using AI and parliamentary privilege, and then how to learn more about AI. And it's a document we're going to keep evolving alongside the advice and needs of members. We think we've got it about right in tone and style, because some members think it's too simple, some members think it's too complicated. So somewhere we are probably right in the middle of getting the right balance. But that's gone down really, really well, and we published it publicly, so it's available to anyone who wants to use it. And I'd be interested in the guidance provided by parliaments to other members, by other parliaments to their members, and what else we might be missing, or what else we should be thinking about including. So in terms of using AI, we're at a relatively early stage of our journey. So everybody in Parliament, in the UK Parliament, has a Copilot chat, the sort of very basic, kind of boring version of Copilot through our Microsoft suite. And we're just completing a pilot, and it's my job this afternoon after this to write the pilot report of our use of M365 Copilot, which has had 267 participants, so not insignificant for the size of our administration. And that's the version of Copilot which is integrated into Microsoft's apps, so you can find it in Word and Outlook and Excel, and has a lot more power. It comes at a cost. It's about £20 a month per user. So if we gave it to everyone in Parliament, including members, it would cost us £3 million a year. That isn't something we can work out whether we can afford or not. So we're navigating that conversation. What M365 Copilot can do, which Copilot Chat can't, is help with agents and agentic AI. And we've had some brilliant success building very straightforward agents for use, and we're piloting those now. So our HR team is called PACT, the People and Culture team, and we've built something called People Point, which is for any HR query that comes to a HR member of staff. They can query the policy handbook and get accurate advice really, really quickly. And it's really responsive. It's really accurate. I don't like the name. I want to give it a better name, but that's a different thing. But that's a real success. Our library is called Research and Information, R&I, and they've built an agent to help them navigate their SharePoint so they can find documents easier. And that's been very straightforward and very, very easy to work. So hopefully that will be something we roll out more widely. Members of Parliament receive a huge amount of correspondence, which I'm sure is not unfamiliar to you all as an issue. And so we're working on whether it's the right tool for inbox management. Actually, we don't think it is. It's very expensive. The license cost would be about £600 a month to use all the aspects we would need to get the outcome. We actually think for about £30 a month, we can use Power Automate more effectively and get the same outcome for the MPs and the pilots we've conducted. And hot off the presses this week, we have built something for our contact centre. It's a new service for the UK Parliament, which is being able to contact anyone or to contact at one point of call in the Parliament and get queries about anything happening in Parliament for members in particular. There's a huge script, and we've been able to train an AI tool to be able to retrieve the right answer. So when call handlers are taking the call, they've got it at their fingertips. It is working mostly. It's really sophisticated. It's really impressive. Apart from it spent last Wednesday only giving answers in French, which is fine if the queries are coming from colleagues who speak French. It's not typically in the UK Parliament. That's the way we like to present our information. So we need to understand what happened there. We're not quite sure how it ended up switching a different language. We've also done some bespoke artificial intelligence development. So deploying AI, we're going live next month with editing of what are called written questions and retrieving information about previous written questions. So every member of Parliament can table an unlimited number of written questions to the government each session. They get thousands and thousands of questions a week. They all need to go into a certain style, be allocated to the right department for the answer. And we need to make sure we're not duplicating questions that have already gone in. So we need to be able to find questions easily. Our database is a bit creaking, a bit old. We've been able to build an AI tool using sort of RAG augmentation, and it's been amazing. It's saving the team hours and hours of time a day. So it's huge efficiency. They've really embraced it, and it's really exciting. We're thinking about soon exposing members to it, so when they're submitting their questions, the question comes in the perfect format, rather than staff doing it behind the scenes. We have also had some great results, and I know lots of colleagues have been working on this similarly in their parliaments, of using AI to transcribe audio files of proceedings. So we call it Hansard, the official debate, and that is saving hours and hours of time again in transcription. We are also able to convert it to house style, because the way we write down our proceedings, it's got a style that it's not verbatim, it's not word for word. There's a certain stylistic tone to it, and we've trained an AI model to do the sub-editing, and that has been really welcome as well by teams. And then finally, for our public inquiries, we get a huge amount of written evidence. It's quite hard to pass and understand. We are trialing using AI to summarize that written evidence, and that's proving promising. Whether we use it is different. We're starting to hit the line of where someone's job should be versus where AI can enable and support versus replace a job, and it's an interesting debate. And then just the final things from me, what we're doing next. We're doing some insights and research with MPs and members of both houses, members of the House of Lords, to identify where AI might be most useful for their work as parliamentarians. Whether they actually want us to deploy AI, whether they want the help. The government in the UK has built a load of tools called the Humphrey package, and they do things like guess what a parliamentarian might say to a minister. We're looking to see whether that's useful, or we could use it to do the flip and do the reverse. We're preparing a new policy for staff on their use of AI. It's been best endeavours at the moment, so we need to do that. We're developing an AI learning strategy to train members and staff on the use of AI. And we're just looking for every opportunity we can to learn from colleagues in other parliaments, because we recognise we need to catch up, and really excited to hear from others. Looking forward to the questions. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you, Luke, for your presentations. We are catching up afterwards with question and answers, and I also may invite the audience now to write into the chat the question already prepared, I think. But I'm now going to hand over to Patricia. Patricia already introduced the webinar, and I know her since a long time, working together for the IPU for those different chapters of this approach, and also the webinars we are now joining. Patricia has been an IT analyst of the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies since 2000. Currently, she acts as the Director of Innovation and Information Technology, where she is the Coordinator of Innovation, Governance, and Digital Strategy. Among her responsibilities, one can emphasize IT and AI governance, the expansion of Ulysses AI program, and data fluency in the AI program. Patricia has a master's degree in electrical engineering and is PhD in business administration with a focus on AI governance. She coordinates the Parliamentary Data Science Hub at the IPU. Please, Patricia, give us your insights.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. Let me It's right now. Okay. Since 2018, the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies decided to invest in AI systematically. 6 strategic decisions were crucial in our journey towards AI governance. The first, create an AI strategy as part of our digital strategy. Why? Because we needed many cycles to gain maturity. In each topic covered by the strategy, you can see each dimension requires improvements. Thus, it was necessary a sustainable sponsorship, budget, along with the years, and a wide partnership engaging many business units. The safer way to guarantee success in such challenges was having a unique strategy and put AI as part of each major strategic goal. By this way, everyone was engaged in the same goals. The second decision, write integrated policies. An AI governance policy should not only establish a list of ethical principles applied to AI systems. It should also define roles and responsibilities for the executive boards, for the business managers, for the IT team, but also for the data owners and the DPO. So data governance should also be established. And we did it with an approach to minimize data quality problems, because we had many of them. In addition, we defined a set of rules for minimizing AI risks through a norm to deal with AI risk management. And considering that Gen AI, most of cases, runs in clouds, and there are many commercial AI softwares running in clouds, we included a norm to deal with the cloud services, joining it to the other policies. The third decision, adapt our governance process and our governance structure to consider AI. Focusing on a feasible AI governance, we didn't create anything new. We just adapted the corporate governance, adding new responsibilities to the Strategic Executive Board, to the IT Governance Board, and to the IT Governance Unit. By this way, before getting an authorization for an AI portfolio, some assessments are required, and all results are submitted to the boards, as well as the project management reports that include some risk management. The language is adapted to each level of the board, but they receive some information. All reports are open to those stakeholders. We use the same channel that we were used to use in the last years. And as a good side effect, we have a huge pressure for reusing AI systems. The fourth decision, consider agile methods to all AI projects. Basically for 3 reasons. First, AI development requires many interactions. Second, it was necessary to keep the business units very closer to the IT team in a higher frequency, sometimes every day, especially when we are dealing with Gen AI. And third, in most cases, we put the first version of an AI system running in the business unit and collect user feedbacks for improvements. Immediately after having deployed the first version of that system, we start human oversight that remains along with the whole AI lifecycle. The fifth decision, create a program to deal with the data and AI literacy. Actually, we started only with the data literacy program, but now we have 2 programs to deal with data and AI, both combine e-learning with face-to-face classes. The first to focus on the person, and the second focus on the organization unity transformation. The second one is totally customized to each organization unity needs. And our sixth decision was define a new architecture for Ulysses, the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies AI platform. Beyond having traditional AI algorithms embedded in our systems, now we are joining Gen AI agents to those systems. In addition, a corporate assistant is being developed, Ulysses Chat, available to all users. Many agents are being developed to be used in Ulysses Chat. Agents to answer questions regarding the whole Parliament services. Firstly, just answering questions. In a second phase, to automate a few set of questions of services, but also agents to answer questions regarding the policies, norms, and legislation, the internal regiment that deals with the legislative process, and a long list of agents. 3 AI providers are available for us: ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. We select the model depending on our preferences and needs. For cases that require more security, there is a private cloud at the federal government with which we have established a partnership, and we are also increasing our GPU in our data center. Well, those are the most strategic decisions made by the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies towards AI governance. Thank you so much. It will be a pleasure to answer your question.
Thank you, Patricia, for your presentation and also for stimulating another approach and dimension how to address AI governance. And I would now call up Ravi Poliah from the Parliament of South Africa to do his presentation and give us the insight. But before, let me just shortly summarize. Ravi Poliah is the acting CEO of the Parliament and has served in that capacity for at least 2 years. He has served as a senior manager in ICT for the last 4 parliamentary terms. Before joining Parliament in 1999, Ravi was a technical manager for 3M company in Sharp Electronics and was responsible for managing the technology support teams. Ravi has keen interest in all forms of technology, but he is passionate about mountain biking, electronics, online gaming, and cybersecurity. Please, Ravi, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just share my slides quickly, and then we can get started. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity for us to share our AI journey with all of you. I must say up front that the work that we're doing is still in its infancy, and therefore today we'll share some of the measures that we put in place, in particular around governance. We are still piloting a lot of technology, but I hope that at some point we will reach the level of maturity that some of the other parliaments are. And so these are really good benchmarks and things for us to aim to. You know, across the world, many of the parliaments are figuring out how to incorporate AI into their democracies without diluting the democracy. Our parliament is no different. And in our own journey, we are guided by one particular principle, in that whatever technology we implement must speak directly to the mandate, in particular our constitutional mandate. And one of the principles that we've adopted is that we would focus particularly in this parliament, being the 7th Parliament of the Republic of South Africa, is around oversight. And so a lot of the work that we're doing is around that journey of oversight. And so we asked ourselves, what is it that we need to have in place? And why do we need proper governance in artificial intelligence? And considering how ubiquitous and pervasive this technology has become, it's important to have the governance in place at the very beginning. So AI has become a critical pillar in our digital transformation journey. We want to have all of the ethical measures, the transparency, the accountability upfront before we adopt and implement a lot of the technology. We want our parliament to lead by example, to set the tone in the country and within the legislative sector, because we have a number of provincial legislatures as well. Of course, to manage risk, there are the pros and the cons and the dangers of using artificial intelligence. We want to make sure that people who are using it are legally compliant and follow whatever policies are in place. And of course, we want to ensure that there's human oversight over the use of the technology. So when we started this journey and started crafting our strategy, we limited the work that we wanted to do through 4 use cases. Now, we wanted to focus on tracking parliamentary activities, those, the oversights, the questions. And so we had to have a very focused implementation. We didn't want to really cast the net wide, adopt too much of technology and include too wide a scope in the projects that we were implementing. We also wanted to include a lot of our sector colleagues, and that is in the provincial legislature. And how do we include them in this project of ours? We wanted to focus on submissions and how to process those. And of course, I suppose it does enable public engagement, because what we've experienced in the past is that when we have particular initiatives, pieces of legislation that require submissions from the public, we are generally overwhelmed with hundreds of thousands of submissions. And so we believe that artificial intelligence can help us in making sense of a lot of those submissions. And one of the key areas that our presiding officers have highlighted is we have thousands, literally thousands of rulings, precedents that's been set in both houses. And one of the areas that they found most difficult is trying to extract those precedents, particularly when you're in a heated debate and the chairperson or the speaker has to pronounce on something. And so those are the 4 use cases that we'll be focusing on in the next few years. And so a lot of the governance that we've put in place will focus on those. So we needed to anchor our governance in these 4 domains. Number 1, we anchored it in particularly our oversight mandate. And that's a policy imperative for the 7th Parliament. This Parliament focuses not primarily, but predominantly on oversight. And hence it became a policy imperative. Of course, we wanted to have security up front. Data sovereignty, data security, the use, the integrity of the data is one of those non-negotiables. We wanted to ensure that it was integrated into our enterprise architecture and that whenever we design the technology, that it is part of a framework of our enterprise architecture. So it is important to incorporate it. And so that project is ongoing. And of course, we can't do this without the people that it's intended to help. So we need to make sure that we build sufficient capacity within to ensure that everybody is on board, the change management, digital dexterity, the training, the skills, the capacity, and all of those are in place before we embark on this huge project. The framework, of course, to give structure to this journey, we developed an AI governance framework, and it's built essentially on 4 pillars. The first is data management. We wanted to ensure the integrity and ownership and the ethical use of our data. The second is enterprise architecture. These define how every AI solution is designed and integrated and audited for compliance. And the third, of course, is the issue around decisions, key implementation decisions. And these are about practical choices that we will make to kind of operationalize the policy and make our governance measurable. And we wanted to make sure that all the decisions that we make throughout the value chain, that we had the proper governance in place. Of course, the human resource enablement, because governance only lives through people who have the skill and the conscience to apply it. The training in the ethical use of it, in the practical use of it, of course, was important. And the fifth and overarching is oversight evaluation. We wanted to make sure that throughout the governance process that there was continuous evaluation, there was continuous oversight, and that we don't lose track or stray from the path that we've set. So some of the guiding principles. Now, our design philosophy is quite simple. It's innovation with integrity. We lead with security first. Of course, as I said before, data sovereignty and confidentiality are non-negotiables. These have a direct impact on the reputation of the country as well as the parliament. We needed to build guardrails that make AI transparent and auditable. We focus internally before we expand outward. And so a lot of the information, a lot of the data that we will use will be primarily our internal data. Perhaps in the latter years of this parliament, we will focus on external data sources. But for now, it's internal. Of course, every system must be human-centered. AI assists and it does not replace people. And so we're focusing on what we would call displacement rather than replacement, because there's always the danger that AI will take away people's work or jobs. And this is a fear that keeps people from adopting the technology. We wanted to set their minds at ease. So implementation decisions that enable our governance. So policy means very little without execution. So implementation became our proving ground. We adopted a hybrid approach where we on-premise for internal data and the use of cloud technology for any external data that we wanted. Of course, this was simply to comply with all of the privacy legislation, the security legislation that we have in place. And so we ring-fenced a lot of our data and kept that internally. See, this kind of balance gives us a lot of agility without sacrificing the control over our data. The challenge is always who owns the data, who has access to the data, and how secure is it. Of course, we can enable on-demand scaling. So if we're implementing in the cloud, there's always the opportunity to scale our AI and also align our AI outputs with our business analytics environment, which is hosted in the cloud. And I think like the UK Parliament, we've largely adopted the M365 platform. So a lot of our data sits within that environment. And we'd like to strengthen and make it practical and secure. Building institutional capacity, technology cannot govern itself. We need people, we need the requisite skills, we need the technology. And so it's important that we identify the skills that we needed. So as part of our restructuring process, we've identified several skills that we need to bring into the organization. So data scientists, AI design specialists, cost optimization, and of course, the ability to train and create learning programs for our people. Some of the technologies that we've been toying with, ChatGPT for one, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. We've experimented with some of the NVIDIA-based AI tools, Olama, which is a LLM orchestration tool. But predominantly, our work has been around Copilot because it is inherent in our M365 product set. The cost is minimal. We're looking to expand that capability in the next year or so. Impact in the way forward. When governed responsibility, of course, AI becomes a trusted ally in oversight. It enhances human decision-making by surfacing and evidence more quickly. And of course, allows us to access huge amounts of data sets very quickly. We've amassed tons of data over the last 34 years. And in order to make sense of that data, AI is critical and key for us. Of course, it increases our transparency through traceable analytics and auditable outputs. And we'd like to build a future-ready parliament, one that is able to engage citizens, in real time, anticipate issues that may arise from time to time, respond with clarity, do accurate projections, scenario planning. But in conclusion, perhaps I should say this. This is not technology replacing judgment. It's technology that we want to use to amplify our current wisdom. So the technology is here, it's here to stay, it has huge potential. And so the governance that we wrap around it hopefully helps us to be ethical in its use, to ensure that there's transparency, there's integrity, and of course, used effectively in the work that we do. So thank you very much. I'll hand back to our coordinator.
Thank you, Ravi, for the presentation, and thank you again, starting with Claudia, Luke, Patricia, also here for your contributions. Now to the audience in the webinar. Feel free to ask questions, raise your hands. We already have one question down there, which is towards the direction if we can establish a strategic collaboration with the Parliament of Tunisia in AI. And I would give this back to the end to the IPU hub, but also to Patricia, how this is possible. But are there any more detailed requests to the presentation you just heard? We have seen different approaches coming from different perspectives and directions, but all in common, we have about the data reliability, we have about security, we have about training, we have to settle up new architectures, which means hybrid, we were not used to cloud. Are there questions out of the audience? And I find here, from your experience, what have been the main internal barriers, such as cultural resistance, lack of technical expertise, institutional silos, or budget constraints to establishing effective AI governance? And how have you addressed them for all the speakers? But who wants to start with it first? It's coming from Giovanna from Italy. Thank you, Giovanna, for this question. Who goes first? Patricia, Claudia, anybody of you, or Luke? Ravi?
May I?
Yeah, please, Patricia.
Yeah, for the first question from Tunisia, the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies is always open to collaborate and let us schedule a meeting to know a bit more your needs. Okay. Regarding the second question, the main internal barriers maybe is knowing better what can be done with the data. Many times, people think that can explore some things, but the data are not ready. In many situations, we had to take a step back, reorganize, improve the quality of the data before starting something. In many cases, so take care of your data. The data many times are not ready for a trustable results.
Thank you, Patricia, for your contribution. Who wants to add something?
May I come in as well, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I totally agree with Patricia there, but I also would add there's a assumptions gap or an understandings gap that we encounter quite a lot, where because AI may make processes quicker or decisions quicker, people think it's just as quick to install it. So someone has an idea and they want it yesterday, let alone tomorrow. So I'm explaining that it's quite a complex risk for us to navigate. For our parliament as well, we have loads of vendors trying to sell us their tools because they see, and rightly, they see if we adopt it, that will help adoption in the rest of the country. And Ravi touched on that, and others have touched on that in their presentations about being kind of seen as national leaders. And it's that's actually really hampering our decision making. Like, we're overwhelmed with options and choice. And actually, if we could start with something small and get some trust, teach people it takes a bit of time to deploy. The challenge of data. And the other one for us is parliamentary privilege. So the idea that there are certain documents and intimate information that we don't want made public. How do we support and control access to that so it doesn't go off and accidentally be taught into a large language model that learns from it? Sort of novel, challenging things just for parliaments to understand that Microsoft looks at us and go, don't really understand the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Claudia or Ravi, some more things to add?
I totally agree with Luke about the problems. I think that the most important problems is the expectation and the request for a quick answer. But I think that there are not elevator to success with the AI. So I think that the human factor is one of the most important factor that you have to consider to have a good result with the AI.
Thank you. Looking now at the time, Ravi, we have two more questions because we also wanted to summarize at the end shortly with a short note from every presenter. But let me go to the next question. I think we have a couple of arguments to the previous question of Giovanni, but now coming from Martin Kamprad from Germany. How do you provide assistance to internal users when you offer an AI chatbot? How do you share information? How do you use it in a proper way? Could you provide concrete practical examples? Who's first? Who did it with a chatbot, or who can provide an approach how to get this solution done?
We provide Copilot chat to everybody, if that's useful in the UK Parliament. The lesson there has been people kind of find it fine, and what we're trying to do is make sure they understand the benefit of using Copilot chat. For us, is it means that all our data is in a protected enterprise data space. An environment. If you use ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI tools, we can't guarantee the data security there and what is being done. Microsoft has given us assurances and helped us protect that data, so you can look at draft reports and draft amendments and advice to members through it. So we're taking a kind of use honey not vinegar kind of approach, giving examples of good practice, giving examples of good prompts to put into it so people can get the most out of it. And we've built and are running a seminar, which we've had sort of 300 colleagues go through so far over the last 6 months, about how to get the most out of it as well. And that's really popular. So how to structure, you don't just put 10 words into a prompt. If you add all these things, you can kind of hack the system and get really, really good use out of the tool. Because if you just try and do it on your own, it's a bit patchy. But we're framing it as an experiment as well, and not, so it's there to help, and that's helping quite a lot, quite culturally, with people feeling a bit more comfortable, not feeling forced to use AI.
Thank you, Luke. Patricia.
Department for a wide chatbot for all internal users requires a big task force. Engaging many organization units, you need to select people to be in charge of each main dimension to answer questions regarding each dimension. Firstly, the first challenge is be aware about who will be in charge of each set of internal process. And if the information that support that each process is updated, is complete. If there is any other problem with those documents, it requires a big task force. Stay be aware that you will need to have a task force group along with the whole life of your task force with representatives of each organization unit.
Thank you, Patricia. Now checking also with the other eye the time, because we are ending after 1 hour. We have one more question there, and I would like to ask you to have shortly feedback today. We need to end at 3:30, so the summarization is still on the list. But regarding this question from the Republic of Congo, I think also from a moderator point of view, an independent global authority responsible for overseeing ethical governance of artificial intelligence is maybe something which will afterwards being established together. But I think we, starting with our homework in our parliaments, with brushing up data quality, doing cybersecurity needs, doing new form of architectures and those things. And then when we come together for the sharing and learning, some initiatives like this can follow up there, but I cannot foresee it. I'm not sure if anybody of you, of the speakers or the other people involved here can give us an answer. But brings me back to my agenda. On the agenda now, I would like to ask Claudia, Luke, Patricia, Ravi in this order to give in a short keywords the main message out of their presentation and the discussion what we had, what is important from a strategic point of view to focus on. Please, Claudia, floor is yours.
Thank you. Just our 5 lessons learned. Support rather than delegation, enhancement rather loss of skills, assessing AI's potential for your work processes, human responsibility, and test, correct, adjust, and start again. AI will require us the strengthening of parliamentary administration with more skills, more knowledge, more training, and new specialists. This is the lessons that we are learning with our journey with the AI.
Thank you, Claudia. Luke, your turn.
Be brave, be bold, keep humans in the loop.
Thank you, Luke. Patricia.
Thank you, Peter. I think my last question, suggestion is everything starts with a strategy that can put everyone at the same page, that can engage as much stakeholders as possible, because you will need that everyone will have the same goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia. And last of the presenters, Ravi, your short, brief
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add that the technology has so much potential and we're relying on the people. So I think the issue around change management, dealing with fears, and that creates resistance to adopting the technology, have a proper change management strategy, ensure that you have a top-down approach in terms of adoption, inclusive design, include your people in the final product or service, and be transparent in your communication on AI. And I think it's a recipe for success. Thanks.
Thank you all 4 presenters for your input. Brings me to the previous last point. The short summary out of this is stick on your strategies, make strategies how to incorporate also the AI technology approach. It's not about the technology, it's about the people. So all those things coming together out of your presentation will also guide to a good, fruitful and colorful future. And now handling back to Andy to give us the final words from IPU SIP. Thank you all.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of IPU Centre for Innovation in Parliament, a big thank you to everyone who has contributed to today's fascinating discussion. Claudia, Luke, Patricia, Ravi and Peter, yourself, but also to all of the participants. I've been very struck by the word a journey. I think it's a great metaphor for using AI. Everyone is on this journey, and even these very digitally mature parliaments are expressing that it's at the beginning of a journey. So we're all learning together. And at the IPU, we're trying to facilitate these opportunities for exchange. I'm putting 3 links in the chat, which I invite and encourage everyone to take a minute to look at the guidelines for AI in Parliament, which have been put together with the help of this community, links to the ongoing webinars taking place in this series, and an important conference on the role of Parliament in shaping the future of responsible AI that the IPU will co-organize with the Parliament of Malaysia and others at the end of November this year. Thank you, everybody, for today's session. We look forward to continuing the exchange and the next opportunity to meet online, in person, and through every other channel. Thank you. Goodbye.